The smell of fried chicken and fresh coffee hung in the air of Miller's Diner, a small family-run spot tucked away on a quiet corner of town. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows, streaking the glass with silver lines. The neon sign buzzed faintly, "Open all night." Ethan Blackwood pulled open the door with one arm, while balancing a diaper bag on the other shoulder. His hood was up, concealing his face from anyone who might recognize him, not that anyone here would. Miller's wasn't the kind of place where billionaires dined. That was the point. Tonight, he didn't want to be the Ethan who signed billion-dollar deals. He wanted to disappear. Two little hands tugged at his worn hoodie. "Daddy, I'm hungry." Ella whined softly, her curls damp from the outside drizzle. Beside her, Emma clutched a stuffed giraffe with one hand and Ethan's jeans with the other, blinking up at him with sleepy eyes. "I know, Bug," he murmured, voice low and soothing. "We're almost there." He guided them to a booth by the window, the kind that squeaked when you slid across the seat. Booster seats weren't available here, but he'd brought 2 clip-on chairs from the car because that's what single dads did. Ethan dropped into the booth and exhaled slowly. He glanced at the door. She wasn't here yet, the woman from the dating app. Not that he had high hopes. His profile picture hadn't exactly screamed CEO. He'd chosen an old photo jeans t-shirt. A candid smile he barely recognized anymore. The bio was short. Single dad. Loves pancakes. Looking for someone real. His phone buzzed on the table. A new message lit up the screen. "Sorry, can't make it tonight. Good luck." Ethan stared at the words until they blurred. He almost laughed. Figures. Most women ran the second they saw the words "single dad," let alone met the reality of twin toddlers and a guy who didn't flaunt wealth. He locked the screen and slipped the phone into his pocket. "Well, girls?" he whispered, forcing cheer into his voice. "Looks like it's just us." He reached for their menus when the bell above the door jingled. A woman walked in, shaking raindrops from her hair. She was not what he expected. No flashy dress, no designer heels, just a soft blue cardigan, dark jeans, and a canvas tote slung over her shoulder. A worn paperback peeked out from the top of the bag. Her eyes scanned the diner, then flicked to her phone briefly. When she looked up, her gaze landed on Ethan's table, and she smiled, a small, almost shy smile that somehow hit him harder than any boardroom compliment ever had. "Hi," she said, approaching slowly. "You must be Daniel?" Ethan blinked. "Daniel?" He opened his mouth to correct her, then closed it again when he saw the uncertainty in her eyes, the way she gripped her tote like it was armor. He hesitated, then heard himself say softly, "Yeah, that's me." Her smile widened a fraction. "I'm Lily." She slid into the seat across from him, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Sorry I'm late." Bus was crawling. Ethan nodded, his heart thudding. He didn't know why he didn't correct her. Maybe he could just exist because someone wasn't looking at him through a headline or a balance sheet. The twins stared at her curiously, their big brown eyes blinking in sync. Lily glanced at them and grinned. "Wow, you didn't mention you were bringing company." "They come everywhere with me," Ethan said, voice low but steady. "Hope that's okay." "Okay?" She laughed softly. "It's perfect." She leaned forward, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "I'm way better with crayons than cocktails." Ella giggled. Emma slid a crayon across the table. "Draw a kitty." Lily picked it up without hesitation. "Your wish is my command." Within minutes, the napkin was covered in a lopsided but charming sketch of a cat wearing a crown. The girls erupted in giggles. Ethan sat back, stunned. The usual awkwardness, the forced small talk, the fake laughs. None of that existed here. Was easy, natural. It was chaos when their food arrived: spaghetti for the girls, burgers for the adults, sauce everywhere, juices tipping over. Ethan braced himself for the look, the one most dates gave him, the "you're in over your head" look. But Lily just laughed, grabbed a napkin, and told a story about when she slipped on library steps and landed face first in a cake. The girls howled with laughter, and something warm, something he hadn't felt in years, stirred deep in Ethan's chest. He didn't notice the check arrive until Lily reached for it. Ethan froze, hand halfway to his pocket, and stopped cold when he remembered. It wasn't his car. These weren't his jeans. He wasn't even sure there was a wallet in them. For a split second, panic gripped him. Lily saw it. She didn't ask questions, didn't make a scene. She simply slipped her card to the server with a small, reassuring smile. "It's fine," she murmured. "I've had worse dinner dates." Ethan stared at her, stunned. "You didn't have to." "I know," she said gently, "but I wanted to." The words hit him harder than any act of charity ever could, because it wasn't about the money. It was about what it meant: kindness without strings, seeing him not as a name or net worth, but as a man trying his best. The sound of laughter floated above the clatter of dishes and the soft hum of an old jukebox in the corner. Lily's voice blended with the twins' giggles, warm and lilting, like sunlight through a dusty window. For Ethan, it was disorienting in the best way, like stepping into a world that had nothing to do with mergers or market shares. He found himself watching her more than he intended. She leaned down to wipe spaghetti sauce off Emma's chin without hesitation. She made Ella giggle so hard that juice came out of her nose by drawing a cat wearing sunglasses on a napkin. Lily wasn't polished perfection like the women in his old life. She wasn't trying, and that shook him. "So," Lily said after a while, resting her chin on her hand as the twins busied themselves with crayons. "What do you do, Daniel?" Ethan blinked. The question he always hated, the one that usually made conversations turn transactional. He hesitated, then offered the most straightforward truth he could without lying. "I work in business." Lily chuckled. "That's vague." "Yeah," he admitted, scratching his jaw. "I guess I'm figuring things out." Her smile softened. "Aren't we all?" The server dropped off the check in a leather folder. Ethan reached for his pocket again, half praying by some miracle he'd find his wallet. Nothing. A hollow pit formed in his stomach. Before he could stammer an excuse, Lily slid her card onto the tray with a casual grace that stunned him. "You really didn't have to," he began. "I know," she said, her voice calm and almost tender. "But I wanted to." Ethan stared at her, words dying on his tongue. It wasn't pity. There was no judgment in her eyes, no unspoken "you owe me." Just kindness. Uncomplicated. Rare. After dinner, as rain eased into a mist outside, Ethan offered her a ride. "It's not a fancy car," he warned with a crooked smile. "But it'll get you home." She shook her head gently. "Thanks, but I like walking. Helps me clear my head." She bent to kiss Ella's forehead and ruffle Emma's curls. "Thanks for the art, ladies. Come draw again." Emma chirped. Lily's smile lingered as she pushed open the diner door. Maybe. The bell jingled behind her, and just like that, she was gone into the damp night, leaving Ethan standing there with two sticky-haired girls and a feeling he couldn't name. For the next few days, that feeling didn't leave. It followed him through board meetings, clung to him during calls with investors, and echoed in the silence of his penthouse. It whispered when he looked at the twins coloring at the kitchen island. She didn't care about what you had. She cared about who you were. By day 4, he gave up pretending it was nothing. All he had to go on was a detail Lily let slip: "I work at the elementary school near Pine Street." So, on Saturday morning, Ethan packed the twins into the car and drove toward Pine Street with a nervousness he hadn't felt since high school. The schoolyard bustled with life kids running, parents chatting, a bake sale table crowded with cupcakes. And there, near the entrance, stood Lily in a simple floral dress, hair pulled back, handing out flyers with a bright smile that dimmed ever so slightly when she saw him. "You found me," she said when he approached, voice unreadable. "I remembered what you said," Ethan replied, shoving his hands into his jacket pockets, suddenly self-conscious. The twins broke the tension by launching themselves at Lily. "Miss Lily," Ella squealed, "we made you a new drawing." She thrust a crumpled paper toward her, a lopsided rainbow with 3 stick figures labeled us. Lily's lips curved into a soft smile as she knelt to take it. "This is beautiful," she whispered, hugging them both. Then her gaze lifted to Ethan. "You weren't the man I was supposed to meet that night, were you?" He exhaled slowly. "Number. Then why did you stay?" Ethan hesitated, heart pounding. "Because for once, someone saw me. Not the name, not the money. Just, to me." The dad trying to keep it together. Lily's eyes softened, but a voice cut through the noise before either could say more. "Miss Carter," the school principal called. "They're ready for you inside." She nodded, then turned back to Ethan. "I need to go." "I'll wait," he said without thinking. She didn't reply, but her eyes lingered on him a second longer than necessary before she disappeared inside. The first headline dropped 3 days later. "Who's the mystery woman with Ethan Blackwood and his twins?" A grainy photo, Lily holding Ella's hand outside the diner, splashed across gossip sites. By nightfall, her name was trending. Reporters dug into her life with ruthless precision. Her phone lit up with unknown numbers. Cameras appeared outside her apartment. By morning, the chaos bled into her work. The principal called her in, face tight with regret. "There's been pressure," he said. "Parents, donors, they're worried about the attention." "I'm so sorry, Lily." She walked out of the school carrying a box of her things, her world collapsing with every step. That night, her apartment felt like a cage. Her phone buzzed incessantly, news alerts, messages from strangers, offers from tabloids promising 5-figure payouts for her side of the story. One message stood out. "I can make this worth your while. Exclusive interview, $50,000. Lily stared at it, stomach churning. 50,000 could clear her student loans and cover months of rent. But the thought of selling something so sacred, those small, chaotic moments with Ethan and his daughters, made her sick. With trembling fingers, she deleted the message. Hours later, a new text appeared. "Please talk to me. I never wanted this for you. Ethan." She turned the phone face down and buried her face in her hands. For the first time in years, Lily wished the world would stop spinning. Meanwhile, Ethan watched the storm unfold from the glass fortress of his office. Headlines screamed his name. His company's stock dipped under investor panic. Yet all he cared about was one woman in a tiny apartment, drowning in a mess she never asked for. He tried calling. No answer. Finally, on a gray Thursday morning, he left the office mid-meeting and drove straight to her building. The sidewalk was clogged with reporters, microphones poised like weapons. Cameras snapped as he stepped out of the black SUV, ignoring the shouted questions. He climbed the stairs, heart hammering, and stopped before her door. He knew she was inside, he could feel it. He raised his voice just enough to cut through the muffled chaos below. "I can't change the world, Lily," he said, voice raw. "But I can stand between you and it. I'll take the cameras, the questions, the noise. Just say the word." Silence. Then through the door, her voice was small, trembling. "You have to protect your daughters. Don't let them get dragged into this." "They already are," he said hoarsely. "Because they ask about you every night. Because they miss you. And so do I." A sob broke from her throat, muffled by the wood between them. "I didn't ask for this." "I know," he whispered. "But neither did we. And yet, somehow, his voice cracked, This is the most real thing I've had in years. Silence stretched. Then, barely audible, I need you to go. He stood there, fists clenched, before nodding slowly. If that's what you want. Steps heavy, he walked back through the gauntlet of cameras, each flash a blade of white heat against his skin. Behind the door, Lily slid to the floor, tears pooling on the hardwood. Outside, taped to the wood, fluttered a child's drawing wobbly stick figures, crooked hearts, and the words, "We miss you, Miss Lily." 3 days passed. The chaos outside Lily's building calmed, but silence hung heavy, like fog. She hadn't moved the drawing the twins made. It was still taped to her door, edges curling. Every time she walked past it, her fingers brushed the crayon hearts, and her chest ached a little more every time. Meanwhile, Ethan faced a storm of his own. His company's stock slid another 4% as headlines screamed, Blackwood in scandal, investors concerned. The board demanded answers. His CFO cornered him in the conference room. "Ethan, you need to end this circus. Publicly. A statement. A press appearance, something." "I'm not parading her in front of cameras," Ethan snapped, voice low and dangerous. "Then at least confirm it's over," the CFO pressed. "We're hours from losing the Meridian deal. That contract is worth billions." Ethan stared at the stack of papers on the table, the deal he'd fought for months to secure, the deal that could cement his legacy. At that moment, he saw Lily on the floor behind a locked door, clutching a box of library books. All he heard was Emma's tiny voice. "Is Miss Lily gone forever?" He picked up the pen. The CFO's face brightened until Ethan tore the papers clean in half. "Send Meridian my regards," Ethan said, voice steady. "Tell them I don't sell pieces of my soul for profit." The CFO gaped. "You're throwing away billions for what matters," Ethan cut in. He stood, buttoned his jacket, and walked out before the man could finish. That night, rain returned soft at first, then relentless. Lily sat on her couch, organizing books she couldn't read, when a knock sounded at her door. Her heart lurched. She froze. Another knock, firmer this time. She approached slowly, peering through the peephole. And there he was, Ethan Blackwood, drenched to the bone, no bodyguards, no cameras, just him. His hoodie clung to his frame, raindrops tracing rivers down his jaw. "Lily," he said, when she cracked the door an inch. His voice was raw, threaded with exhaustion. "I didn't come with promises, or headlines, or excuses." His eyes burned into hers. "I just came with my heart." And theirs. Two small faces peeked from behind his legs. Ella held a piece of paper, colors bleeding from the rain. 3 stick figures and the words, "We bring our hearts." Something inside Lily shattered. She flung the door open as the twins ran forward, wrapping their arms around her legs with squeals of joy. Lily dropped to her knees, clutching them like they were air, and she'd been drowning. "I missed you," she choked out. So much." When she looked up, Ethan stood there, his chest rising and falling like he'd sprinted a mile. "Why are you here?" she whispered. "Because I can live without the money, without the noise, without every damn thing the world thinks I need," said hoarsely. "But not without this. Not without you." Her breath caught. I thought leaving was the only way to protect you. You were trying to protect us by breaking us," he said gently. "That's not protection, Lily. That's pain." Rain drummed against the roof, a steady heartbeat. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Lily stepped aside. "Come in," she whispered. He did. And when the door clicked behind him, the world, the cameras, the headlines, the chaos ceased to matter. There was only this. 4 hearts in a small room, finally home. Life didn't snap back to perfect overnight. The press lingered for a while, then moved on to the next scandal. Lily's job at the school didn't return, but she didn't care, not after what came next. It started with a question. One quiet evening in the old cottage, Ethan's mother once owned the place he escaped when the weight of the world felt unbearable. They'd made spaghetti again at the twins' insistence. After dinner, Lily sat cross-legged on the rug, helping the girls build a tower of blocks, when Ethan asked softly, "If you could do anything, anything in the world, what would it be?" She looked up, startled. "Anything?" He nodded. Lily hesitated, then said, "I'd start a reading program. For kids who don't have books at home. For the ones who stay in the library until closing, because it's the only safe place they know." She laughed softly, almost embarrassed. "It sounds silly." Ethan's gaze was steady, unwavering. "Then let's build it." And they did. They called it Bright Nest, a mobile library that traveled to shelters, community centers, and schools, bringing stories to children who needed them most. Lily designed every detail, from the book selections to the cozy corners with beanbags and warm blankets. Ethan funded it quietly, refusing interviews and letting the spotlight stay on the mission, not the money. Slowly, headlines shifted, no longer about scandal, but about hope. Bright Nest brings books to thousands of kids. 1 year later, they gathered in the cottage's backyard on a soft spring afternoon. Sunlight draped the grass in gold. The twins ran barefoot, giggling, daisies tangled in their hair. A weathered wooden table stood in the center, draped in a simple cloth and cluttered with crayons and juice boxes. "Close your eyes," Ella shouted, bursting from the house with Emma in tow. They carried a small box wrapped in napkins. Lily laughed, obeying. When she opened them, she found a ring inside. Not gold, not diamond, but braided from yarn, and tiny beads in crooked colors. "We made it," Emma declared proudly. "It's your special ring." Lily's throat tightened. She looked at Ethan, who had dropped to one knee, not with a headline-ready diamond, but with the same steady gaze he'd given her that night in the rain. "I used to think I'd only be loved for what I had," he said quietly. "The name, the money. But then came a wrong table, 2 little girls, and a woman who looked past all of it and saw me." His voice shook. "I'm not asking for a headline or a grand ceremony. Just this. Be you, with us, with them. Be the heart of this home. Lily Carter, will you marry me?" Tears blurred her vision as she slipped the handmade ring onto her finger. "We've been a family for a while now," she whispered. "You're just catching up." The twins squealed, circling them with hugs and laughter. There were no cameras, no flashing lights, just 4 souls under a sky the color of promise. Later that night, after the girls drifted to sleep, Ethan and Lily sat on the porch swing wrapped in a blanket, listening to the wind chimes his mother had hung decades ago. Lily rested her head on his shoulder. "I didn't think I had enough to give," she murmured. Ethan kissed her hair. "You gave them a safe space. You gave me a reason to believe again." She smiled through tears. "I guess this just happened." "No," he said softly. "It didn't just happen. We chose this. Every small moment, every quiet choice. We made this." And in the stillness of that evening, with stars blooming across the sky, they began the rest of their lives, not with riches or grandeur, but with the rarest kind of wealth. Love that chose to stay.